Welcome to Stop the Fight, and today we're recapping Charlo's win, we're recapping Munguia's win, and we're recapping Inoue's win, and don't forget Rosado. Let's go!
Don't brag about taking my side piece! Don't brag about taking my side piece, no!
I broke my back. Back is broken. Spinal.
He's strong man, good boy, you know, just.
That was a pretty good night of betting for us. I think we all came out well. And you know who we were saved by? Gabriel Rosado. Gabriel Rosado with perhaps the knockout of the year over Bektemir Melikuziev. That was a pretty one, guys. Go check it out. And the third round, Gabriel Rosado just completely demolishes the kid. Catches him coming in with a beautiful overhand right. The bully, Melikuziev, fell face forward and did not make the 10 count. It was a beautiful stoppage. And one, you know, I keep saying I like Rosado. I keep saying he's a very underrated fighter. The casinos, the bookies, DraftKings, everyone in between thought, like, this is going to be an easy fight for the bully. Rosado's not really an easy fight for anybody. Yeah, he has some bad nights here or there, but Rosado is a very good fighter. I keep saying it. I'll keep saying it over and over and over again. 26, 13-1, 15 knockouts, and 4 defeats by knockout. Yeah, 13 defeats is a lot. But here he is putting out, you know what I mean, an up-and-coming guy, up-and-coming light heavyweight, who was going to fight Kovalev right before this. And as a little quick aside, the bully's lucky he didn't fight Kovalev, because Kovalev would have put us on a sustained beating on him. I think he's a little bit too small for the weight class. He's got to come down to at least 168. And if you look at Melikuziev, he's really wide. He's got some weight he can lose. He can definitely come down. That's for sure. I mean, I know this fight was held at 168, but I think it can even be lower. You know, the fact that there was a 175 question mark against Kovalev shows you that he's way over his head. He's only 5'9.5". That's like Canelo's size, and Canelo looks undersized for super middle. I want to see if this kid can get down to middleweight. He's reckless. He's reckless. The bully Melikuziev is. So, you know, he's lunging a lot. You even saw it when he fought, what's his name? Who came in to stop? Morgan Finch, who came in to cover in for Kovalev. Yeah, the bully stopped him, but he's doing the same, like, lunging kind of almost amateur style. And amateur, I don't mean like in the amateurs. I'm talking about like an unrefined style. Something like kids in the gym do when they first learn how to box and they have some athleticism and power to lunge like this. And Rosado taught him a very, very, very painful lesson by knocking him out like that. I mean, that's a knockout of the year for now, especially given that against the storyline has to make sense, guys. Last year, Povetkin may maybe not have been the best knockout of the year when you compare with like Gervonta Davis and the one against with Zapata, right? Maybe any one of those three could have been it, but the Povetkin one had the storyline, and this is the same thing over here. Bektemir Melikuziev was an undefeated fighter, 7-0 with 6 knockouts, the up-and-coming star, the guy who Kovalev apparently took some gear for, whatever. Here he was flatlined by a guy who knocks people out at less than 40% rate. But again, I'll keep saying his praises, and Rosado, you know, he kind of got my back today with on Saturday with that bet. You know, I think it was plus 700 if I'm not mistaken. Good, it was nice. That pretty much covered the weekend. That right there, I could have lost the other 2 bets, but we didn't. Hold on, we'll talk about him in a sec. So, where does Gabe Rosado go here? Well, he's gonna get paid. Oh, he's getting paid against somebody. Against who? I don't know. Maybe even Munguia, right? Maybe Munguia. I mean, Gabe Rosado, I think, can come down to 160. I mean, he'll take a bunch of fights. He can fight anybody. But he's getting paid now. And he deserves it. He deserves it. He's been out there fighting and, you know, getting the shit end of decisions, like against Jacobs. And he's been a very, very, very good fighter. Significantly better than his record. Like, if he was, let's say right now he's 26-13, were he 39-3, or 37-5, he'd be like, yeah, okay, he's that kind of fighter. But he's not a 26-13 fighter, and I hope you guys can now see, given his last 3 fights, that This is a very serious fighter, a very good one. I've noticed it all the way back against Golovkin. He's significantly better than his record indicates. Where does Melekuziev go? And again, I don't know. I think he's got to retool entirely. He can't fight it with his style in the pros. Another guy who can counter will do the exact same thing to him. It's not going to be just Rosado that catches him. Many people would. And Kovalev would have really put on a severe beating on him. I really think so. Him trying to lunge like that on Kovalev, he'd be running into counter right hands and straight jabs. Remember, Kovalev throws really straight shots. Where this even this old Kovalev, this kid would be busted up. He wasn't anywhere near ready. Now, the Charlo fight. Want some money here as well, ladies and gentlemen. Plus 100 if I remember correctly. Plus 100. This was almost double your money if you took the over 6.5 rounds. I think that's what it was. Yeah, it was 6.5. Yeah, I said it. Charlo is a very good fighter. I think he has the best shot of beating Canelo around that weight class, excluding Golovkin. Now, he showed more vulnerability in this fight, but I don't know if that has more to do with Montiel than it does with Charlo. Charlo is an explosive fighter, and he showed it. You know, he actually hurt Montiel, like, pretty badly in rounds, I actually think in rounds 5 and 6. I think there was that point where Montiel kind of just held on. And Charlo was the better athlete. He was the better boxer, better footwork, more speed, more power, better defense. But boxing is not just all of that. Montiel was clearly would not be broken. He just would not be broken. He was not going to go down. He was not going to be knocked out. He kind of, I think he wanted to make up for the Munguia loss that he had a few fights back. A few fights, like 5 fights back now. He was stopped in 2 rounds by Munguia, and I think he came back retooled, recharged. And he really, at points, even started putting the hurt on Charlo. You saw Charlo became very uncomfortable in there, had blood in his mouth, and he was doing everything right. But sometimes this happens. You really hit the guy with everything, with the kitchen sink, and you can't get him out of there. You don't know what to do. And sometimes a fighter will start coming on. Will start, you're a little tired, but they kind of see that you're not hitting them as hard anymore. You don't have the same steam on your punches. You don't have the same speed, and they get revitalized by that. And then they start coming, and then sometimes these fighters get the stoppage in a 15-round fight. Now, I'm not saying Charlo loses this in a 15-round fight. He probably doesn't. He still would be able to continue doing the work that he did against Montiel, but it was one of those things where Charlo was starting to wilt. And thankfully, he kept his composure. Another reason why I believe he has a legitimate shot against Canelo. He kept his composure even when he couldn't put him out. And even when Montiel started to come on, he kept his composure. He boxed well. He still landed his shots. I think Montiel won like 2 rounds in the entire fight, maybe 3. If you're being very generous, I think he won maybe 3 rounds. I think he lost every single round up until that like 9th or 8th round or so. But again, for us bettors, this is exactly what I said. Charlo is a very heavy-handed guy, but he was much more heavy-handed at 154 than he is at 160. And now we have another fight at 160. So let's count again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 fights at 160. 3 stoppages, 3 decisions. That's a sub 50% stoppage rate at 160, at middleweight. So what does that tell us about Charlo? He is still an explosive, heavy-handed guy who can still get you out of there, but he's not a guaranteed out. And when they give you like a 5.5, 6.5 round type of a fight, odds over under, and you're facing a guy who was big. Now Montiel was a sizable guy. I think he was definitely bigger than Charlo. You should really consider taking the over, as I don't know, as long as it is a reasonable opponent. I don't really know if Charlo has the power to really get some of these bigger guys out of there the way he was when he was at 154, at light middle or super welter, whatever you want to call it. So again, we had once the Charlo fight was done, or once we hit the 6.5 rounds, at that point our night was secure. Our night was really 50-50 once Rosado, or 50-50. We kind of made our money back once Rosado scored the upset. And with the victory by Charlo, it was just, It was just icing on the cake at that point. I got to enjoy Inoue fight and do his thing and not even care that I had money against him or that, obviously I still wanted to win more money, but it feels a little bit different when you already got the cash in your pocket. When the outcomes you have predicted came to fruition. So Inoue, the monster, absolutely insane. Absolutely insane. Boy, does that moniker really, does that nickname really ring true, huh? What he did with Das Marinas was insane. He was significantly faster. He was significantly stronger. He was the better boxer. It didn't matter that he was smaller. I didn't even realize he was smaller. He actually didn't even look smaller. He was bigger because of the way that Das Marinas was kind of cowering a little bit during the fight. And again, Das Marinas is not a coward or anything like that, guys. Please, before anyone says anything. It's just that Inoue is a superb talent. But he's got to fight somebody. He really does. At 118, there's not much. But there is no Nito Donaire. And that is going to be the fight. He's gonna fight unification against Casimero, and then I think if he wins there, which he may not. I'm gonna have to kind of look at it. Where he win there, we're getting that rematch. We're getting the rematch for the whole marbles. I think Inoue beats him again, but I think that's the fight that we're all waiting for. Again, Inoue is insanely explosive. He landed left hooks to the body. It was brutal shots. Das Marinas, the first time he took that body shot clean, it was the fight was really over the second he went down the first time. I knew right away. I was like, I turned around and I told my wife, I was like, nope, he's not making it to a 4.5. That's not happening. And he didn't. He was stopped the following round. So I think we're really dealing with a superb talent in Inoue. The way his punches are so straight, they're so explosive. It's gonna take a with Donaire, he was significantly bigger, but it's gonna take a real good fighter to beat him. It really is. Or maybe him going up in class in weight until he becomes just undersized, similar to Lomachenko. So again, congratulations to Inoue. Congratulations to us. These were our main bets, right? These are the three ones that we kind of care to put any money on. Let's talk about Munguia. I said I didn't care to bet on him, but if I did, I would take the under. He actually made it right to the end of the round. Sharameta before the corner stopped him. So technically, if you did take that bet, I wasn't confident. Unfortunately, you had lost that one. What can we say about Jay Munguia? If you can't back him up, you're going to lose. You're just going to lose. And Sharameta has no power. He couldn't do anything to him. He couldn't move. He's not a very good mover. And he really couldn't. And I know people are saying, oh, well, Munguia got him out of there quicker than Golovkin. Guys, I would love to see Golovkin versus Munguia. If for no other reason than to see Golovkin stop Munguia. Because that's what's going to happen. Munguia has no chance against Golovkin. I don't think so. I think this is a horrible stylistic matchup for him. If Munguia fights the way he has been fighting against Golovkin, he will be a knockout victim. He will unless Golovkin aged even more, he will absolutely be a knockout victim. The way that you beat Golovkin, you have to counter him. You have to use slick, angles. You have to hold the Golovkin's, an old 39. The way you don't beat Golovkin is come at him and fight him, and which is what Munguia is going to do. And there's almost talking about with Eric Morales being a trainer that his offense is his defense. This is an awful approach against Golovkin. And against saying you stopped Sharameta around earlier than Golovkin. First of all, Sharameta had already taken the loss against Golovkin. So it was a different Sharameta mentally. And second of all, this is a Sharameta that came in on 2 weeks' notice. He came in to get paid. He tried. It didn't work out. He just doesn't have the power. Unfortunately for guys like Sharameta, it's like a Paulie problem. Unless you are a superb boxer, you're not going to make it in the sport with having that little knockout power. And for Sharameta, he just does not have the power. He didn't have the power. But Munguia didn't really show me anything that would make me say, "Wow, yeah, there's the guy. He'll beat Charlo and then Golovkin and then Canelo." No way, Jose. The only chance he has against Charlo, is if he is able to weather the clean, crisp counters of Charlo the way that Montiel did, and then walk Charlo down. But I would absolutely not bet on that happening. No way. No way. Absolutely not bet on that happening. So I do really believe that Munguia is probably the third best middleweight. And I guess we're not considering Canelo a middleweight anymore. Obviously, he has no intention of fighting there. But Charlo, Golovkin, oh no, not even the third best. Because Andrade is probably the better middleweight. Who knows? That Eubank fight is probably, Eubank Jr. fight is 50-50, Derevchenko fight is 50-50. Well, actually, Derevchenko fight, I don't think so, because Derevchenko is just undersized. He really is. He really should be at 154, not 160. Lara's over there, but I think Lara is just getting older. So he's really a top 5 middleweight. I do not think Munguia is a top 3 guy. He's certainly not number 1. He's just certainly not. I just don't see it. I do not see it. So what else? Well, Anderson Silva. Yeah, he fought, yes, against our boy, Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. And he won. And I'm so thankful that he won. And no, this does not do any harm to the boxing name. What this does is further show you how much of a joke Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. had become. This is a guy, people are saying, oh, he was a former boxing champion. Yes, he was a former boxing champion when he used his youth to be able to melt down to 160 and rehydrate back up to 190. He fought kids as a guy who was rehydrating to 190. Every time, if you look at his early fights, he looks like a giant in there. Like an absolute giant in the ring with these little kids. And in his past 5 years, he's done absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing. So I don't know what you guys are saying when you say that he hurt the sport of boxing. He didn't. This is not a dedicated boxer. This isn't really. I remember even his fights against Brian Vera were, especially that first one, he kind of lost that fight. This is post Sergio Martinez. I don't think Julio Cesar Chavez has done nothing in 5-6 years in boxing. He really hasn't. In 2015, he got beat by Fanfara, and he hasn't had any. Like he fought Canelo Alvarez, got beat by him. Fought Daniel Jacobs, got embarrassed by him. So this isn't, like I said, this has nothing to do with boxing. It's something to do with how Julio Cesar Chavez is just a significantly diminished fighter, and probably a fighter that never was. Without his size and without his father's name, we would have never heard of this kid. He would have never even smelled the championship fight. So that's really all I got to say for that. And I want to say congratulations again to Anderson Silva, who did an amazing job. Just an absolute amazing job out there. And really kind of really showed you how good of a talent he is. And how good of a talent he could have been had he stayed in boxing. And, you know, I'm not saying he should have stayed in boxing because obviously he's one of the GOATs of MMA. You look at his highlights, he is an insane athletic specimen. His striking is amazing. He is an amazing athlete, an amazing striker, and I'm really happy that he won this fight. So I guess it's on to fighting one of the Paul brothers. No, I'm joking. But you never know. You know, he's actually sizable. He made 180, so he's within the size range of the Paul brothers. And, you know, maybe that's where he's trying to go. I mean, I don't think he should do that. I think these guys need to stop fighting MMA guys and fight other boxers if they want to fight. Just like funny fights, but don't, like, you know, he's always 46 years old. I want to speak about this fighter, Blair Cobbs. Blair Cobbs fought on the undercard of the Munguia fight. He won by TKO over Brad Solomon, and you know, Blair Cobbs is 15-0 with one draw and 10 KOs. And he is a pretty good fighter. He's a pretty good fighter. We've seen him on the zone oftentimes in like the undercard. Back when the zone would show you the entire shebang, all like 6 hours of fighting, which was awesome. So I think, I like Blair Cobbs, and he really does. He wants a name opponent. He wants someone serious in his next outing, and I think he deserved it. He's a fun kid. He does the Ric Flair. Woo! He was in the ring with Rosado after Rosado won. So, it was a great day for boxing. Like, again, you have boxing just going on all day. The Munguia fight started at 3:30, which was crazy. Can you imagine if we got the Teofimo fight as well? Like, I don't even know how we'd be able to watch all the cards. But as a boxing fan, I loved it. It was just nothing but boxing. I had a bunch of screens on, watching the hockey games, watching boxing. It was nice. It was a good time. Well, that's going to do it for me. We'll talk about this big weekend on the Thursday. It's over.
I'm gonna go home and break my wife's hip.
Don't brag about taking my side piece. Don't brag about taking my side piece, though.
I broke my back. Back is broken. Spinal.
She's strong, man. Good boy. Just.